Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Los Gatos Council meeting for August 5th, 2025. Tonight, we have quite a few items on consent, and then we have a number of public hearing items. And so I would just like to invite you to send up any cards, either for verbal communications or for an item that you'd like to speak on, so that we can manage to make sure we get all the public comments. So thank you, and with that, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aristo?
Thank you. And as I'm appearing remotely pursuant to AB 2449 under the Just Cause provision because I'm unable to attend in person due to a contagious illness. And I can attest that there are no persons over the age of 18 in the room with me. Thank you.
Councilmember Ennie?
Here.
Councilmember Badami?
Here.
Vice Mayor Moore?
Here.
Mayor Hudas?
Here. Okay, so I'd like all of you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so as I said, we have quite a few consent items on the agenda tonight. And I wanted to just see whether, before I get to comments on the consent items, whether council members had any items that they wish to pull or any comments. Okay, yes, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I don't want to pull anything. Just have a quick comment on item number 7.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make sure, I just want to voice that there's a lot in this contract. I think this is a really good direction of moving generally, but I want to make sure that we do not sort of completely set ourselves up for paid parking without council weighing in on that item. I don't see that happening in this, but just want to make sure, given that this is, it's a big contract.
Did staff have any comment on that?
We were just discussing the agenda. It looks like typically there would be public comment prior to the consent calendar, but the council can open the public comment at any point.
Yeah, I was just getting council members' comments before we discuss or pull any items, so.
And to that point, we would not engage in paid parking without engaging in discussions with the council.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilmember Aristo.
Thank you. I don't want to comment on any particular item. I don't know when it's appropriate, but I did want to comment on the new format of the agenda as we're looking at it. And I want to thank our town clerk and our manager for the 2 steps that, to me, make this agenda much more readable for the public. First of all, moving the boilerplate participation information to the end so people can get right into the agenda if they're accustomed to reading it. And then also having the staff recommendation called out overtly without somebody having to open an item so they can see at a glance what the item's about and if they might be interested. So thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you. So I will open public comment on the consent items. Gus Hu and Lefa Go.
Hi. I touched on this a little earlier. The minutes, I would wish that you reconsider on polling those and just talking it over of the public view across the street and all the high rises. There were foreseeable class action lawsuits because of safety concerns raised by the high school principal and the superintendent and a bunch of other people. It was split between the votes split between the two. I don't want Mary's name in a class action. I'd rather see if they're to
So
raise it.
could I just
I'm
interrupt for
sorry.
a second?
Yeah.
Is this regarding the consent items?
Yes,
Because we will have verbal
The-
communications
this is,
later.
this is regarding reconsideration on the 1 and 3.
I see.
Do you,
Okay.
see- do you see
Thank
my
you.
card?
Yes.
And so, and then, I'm just saying that I was a general contractor and nobody's, if we place a bond on construction on these high rises, if there's safety concerns, like $60 million, nobody's to want to bid on it because of, there's to be class act if somebody gets hurt. And everybody knows that somebody's to get hurt because people already told you, the principal told you. It's not when, but it's not if, but when it happens. So I'm just trying to take your name, you guys going down the wrong road, turn around and go down the other road and at least talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Frago?
Good evening and welcome back to attending council meeting again, conducting that. Thank you. I'm speaking as an individual in town. I'm not representing any group. My concern on consent item 7 is that the town has had a contract with Dixon for over 6 years. And I'm just wondering, what have they really accomplished over that period of time? What we don't see are, and what other changes are being proposed or being considered by Dixon or by the town for Dixon to manage for us. We need better signage on where parking is available for all the visitors who are going to be coming to town in the future, and the fact that we're going to have over 2,000, almost 3,000 new housing units over the next 5 years or so. And those new residents are going to have to try and find where there is parking available. And putting in electric signs would be very helpful. And I think that should be the guidance that the council should direct to whomever is managing that process. And again, what has Dixon accomplished so far? I don't see any improvement in the signage and communication regarding parking in town. So please consider what you're going to be adding in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars to the contract with Dixon. Let's have some accountability with what we're trying to have, which is reasonable access to new and available, currently available parking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments on the consent calendar? Okay. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Badami?
I move to approve items 1 through 16.
Vice Mayor?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, we need to do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Isto,
Aye.
Councilmember Rennie,
Aye.
Councilmember Badami,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Aye.
Mayor Hudas.
Aye. So we've concluded the consent items, and now we have verbal communications. So I have one card for verbal communications. Gus who?
Okay, same kind of thing that I've always been saying. Project 2026 is coming up. Football, World Cup, Super Bowl, March Madness. Water bills, my water bill went up 50 and I'm expecting it to go up another 50. Just, everybody's complaining about it. We should have talked, censorship, I wanted to talk about these two photos, the new information on that I'm sending up, that I handed in, of the fake assassination attempt. Flag was lowered in position. I'm not sure exactly if, I'm still trying to confirm that, but the photographs were ushered in from the left side. I did confirm that. So it was staged on Trump's shooting. And verbal complaint on hiring. I tried to talk to you earlier about verbal complaints versus written complaints. I'd rather verbally pull, on certain hiring practices, like the emergency manager when we didn't need it. And I think it cost $20 million for everybody in the town to get notified if there's a fire or something like that. I think it'll be on the news. I don't think you need a $20 million project. And the way that all went down, but that's just a complaint, a verbal complaint, and I'd rather, again, talk to you on the side of the thing. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other cards for verbal communications. Is there anyone online for verbal?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so I will close verbal communications, and now we'll move to the public hearings. Item number 17, which is conduct a public hearing to consider objections to the 2025 weed abatement program.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'm Stephanie Hockemeyer, Project Manager with Parks and Public Works. The 2025 weed abatement program item before you tonight includes two recommended actions. One is to conduct the public hearing to consider the objections to the proposed assessment report charges, and two, to adopt the resolution confirming the report and then authorizing the collection of those assessment charges. The charges are listed on Exhibit A of the resolution, and they reflect a few types of fees. The $105 first inspection fee is charged to all parcels in the program, even if they complied with the abatement of their weeds this year. Any additional fees beyond that $105 can vary from additional inspections to administrative fees to abatement fees, as described on page 3 in attachment 3. Once a property is placed in this program, it remains in the program until the parcel has been found to be compliant for 3 consecutive years. I do want to bring to your attention that the assessment report that was included in the January 21st public hearing varies slightly from the final report in front of you tonight. And those 86 parcels were listed in the January report, which is not in front of you. There are 81 parcels on this report. And the differences, I just wanted to recap so they're noted for the record. One parcel from the January report has been split into 2, and they are now reflected as such. One parcel, number 558-20089, listed on the January report, had the inspection completed after this current assessment report was provided to the town. So this parcel is not yet reflected on the is not reflected on this current report, and will not be charged this year. However, the charges will be rolled over into next year's program to make sure that they do pay their fees. And this parcel has just met its first year of compliance. And then 5 parcels that were on the January report were identified as compliant for the prior consecutive 3 years. So they have been removed from the inclusion of this entire 2025 weed abatement program. To note, the staff report does include 1 protest received from the Mulberry APN 409-15021. As of this afternoon, the county has actually, after reviewing all of the information, they recommend that this parcel be removed from the weed abatement program this year and not charged for that first inspection fee of $105. And this is based on the building and landscape exemption due to the area being replaced with concrete pavers. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions along with Garrick, the weed abatement manager for Santa Clara County. He's with us.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? And then I'll open it for public. Councilmember Rennie.
So that the change in the recommendation sounds weird only in that I recall them reading that the response from the fire department was, this is not the right meeting to ask to be taken off of the program. That would be, I think they said, the January meeting, and now they're saying it is okay to take it off at this meeting?
Are you maybe referring to the brush abatement instead of the weed abatement?
There's only one on tonight's agenda, right? It was,
Right,
I
I'm
recall
sorry.
reading it in tonight's agenda, the response to the letter. I think there's a response in here to the letter where the fire department
Oh,
said
I'm
this
sorry.
is not the right meeting to ask to be taken off. That should occur in January.
It was actually the county weed abatement. I'm sorry, not the fire department. It was that response. Yes, earlier.
My misspoke on
No,
there.
no, that's okay, right. You're right. And that was Garrick, and he's here tonight. He actually did some more due diligence to actually get some current information and took photos, and they have, I can let Garrick actually respond to that for you.
So I mean, the real
initial
question was,
response
yes, we
was-
could go ahead and do this meeting, because originally what was said was wait till January.
Right, right.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Garrick Ioselewski. I'm the manager for the weed abatement program for the Santa Clara County Consumer and Environmental Protection Agency. You are correct. This is not the meeting for property owners to appeal being a part of the list. However, one of our processes in our program is if we can determine that a property has been landscaped or built on sufficiently to prevent the weeds from regrowing, we do take them off on our end outside of the public hearing process. So the person who did submit that written appeal, we did review their property and we did determine that they did landscape sufficiently to prevent the weeds from regrowing. So we have gone ahead and just removed them from the program and taken off the fee for this year.
Okay, so then if I could follow up, what I heard was a recommendation that we take them off, but I'm hearing you say you've already taken them off, so we don't need to do anything. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Town Attorney?
I'm wondering if the council would need to amend the resolution that's in the packet to remove that property. I think the answer is yes. So is there just one property that has the Mulberry address?
Yes.
Okay. And so if and when the council makes its motion, the resolution should be amended to remove the Mulberry property from Exhibit A.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have to remember that till we get to that point. So I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to open this to public comment. And I have one card. And I apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly. Jay Haku? Please correct me on the...
Jai. Just
Jai,
like, not
okay.
Hi, but Jai. Some people have called me Hi, but it's not. I've been living in Los Gatos now for 27 years, and we have maintained the weed abatement, and I'm fully supportive of that. I got a letter on July 16th, mailed July 16th, and saw some assessment on our property. And last year, we were delayed by a week or so. We did it ourselves, but we had some major emergency in India. I was out of town, Gardner did not do it, but we did it ourselves. I was surprised to see the big assessment on our property. It's 16481 South Kennedy Road. And I request you all to please waive that one, but we fully support this abatement program.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. I don't have any other cards on this item. Is there anyone online who'd like to speak on it?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so I will close the public comment and go back to the council for discussions, questions, or a motion. Council have any questions? Councilmember Badami?
I don't have questions, but I can add some comments if
Go
this
ahead.
is the time.
Yes.
So I cannot emphasize enough that the town of Los Gatos takes wildfire risk very seriously. We all need to do our part, voluntarily, hopefully, in preventing wildfires. The latest fire, right now, the Guilford fire, has destroyed 72,000 acres in 5 days, forcing evacuations in San Luis Obispo County and Santa Barbara County. The January fires, the Palisades, the Eaton, the Hughes were unprecedented. So I find it difficult to remove any properties from the list with the exception of the one that was recommended, which is the Mulberry property, since it was recommended to be removed by the weed abatement manager. And I can make a motion to that effect unless any other council member would like to make a comment. Okay, so I move to adopt a resolution that is amended in attachment 1, which would remove parcel number 409-15-021 of the property address 14329 Mulberry, confirming the report and authorizing the collection of assessment charges.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So discussion, I had a question for staff. Does staff have any comment on 16481 South Kennedy Road? Or does the county have any comment on that one?
Yes, hi. And I would also like to note that this is a meeting only to approve the fees, not for the removal of any properties from the list. For this property on Kennedy Road, I did confirm that our inspectors did inspect the property last July. So the inspection failed in July of 2024, and the work order processing fee for the failed inspection was rolled over to this year's property tax bill, which is why the fee was so large on this person's assessment report this year. We did also inspect the property this year as well, and it did pass the inspection. So currently, there's an inspection fee of $105 and a work order fee of $547, which is adds up to the total amount that he's being charged this year.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. We've had a question. I don't see any further questions, so let's have a roll call on this, please.
Councilmember Isto?
Aye.
Councilmember Eni?
Aye.
Councilmember Badami?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Hudas?
Aye. Okay, so thank you for that, and we will now move on to item number 18, which is the appeal for 45 Reservoir Road. I believe this is the second appeal that's come to the council.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. Before you this evening is an appeal of the Planning Commission decision approving construction of a new two-story residence with reduced rear yard setbacks at 45 Reservoir Road. The project site is located east of Reservoir Road and accessed via a private driveway that bisects the property and serves several lots between Reservoir Road and Rogers Street. On January 8th, the Planning Commission approved a similar project. This approval was appealed to the council, who on March 4th granted the appeal, remanding the matter back to the Planning Commission with specific direction to the applicant to reduce the building footprint in consideration of the LRDA, reduce the volume massing of the residence, and an additional request was made that the Planning Commission be provided with more detailed information regarding the circumstances under which denial of a requested exception from the town standards would constitute a regulatory taking. The applicant revised the project, which was considered by the Planning Commission on June 11th. The revised project responded to the council's direction by eliminating the exception request to side setbacks by reducing the width of the residence by 2.5 feet on the right side and 1 to 3 feet on the left side, reducing the size of the residence by 189 square feet, and reducing the extent of the front porch to pull it away from the private road. The applicant also provided an updated letter of justification discussing the changes to the project and addressing each of the requested exceptions. Additionally, staff provided information to the commission on regulatory takings. The Planning Commission voted 5-1 to approve the revised project. On June 23rd, the decision of the Planning Commission was appealed to the Town Council, and on the appeal form, the applicant indicated that the decision of the Planning Commission is not supported by substantial evidence in the record. The specific points of the appeal, the applicant's response, and staff's analysis are provided in your staff report. Prior to publishing of the staff report, the appellant provided additional information regarding their appeal, and the applicant in turn provided a response to the additional points. Staff recommends that the council adopt a resolution denying the appeal and upholding the decision of the Planning Commission to approve the project subject to the recommended conditions of approval. Staff notes that an addendum was distributed ahead of tonight's meeting, and this concludes staff's presentation, and we are available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So just to explain the process, we've had the staff report. There's the opportunity for the council to ask some clarifying questions, and then the appellant will have 5 minutes, and then the applicant will have 5 minutes, and then the public may speak for up to 3 minutes each. And then the applicant will come back for 3 minutes, and then the appellant for 3 minutes, and then we'll close and go into deliberations. So with that, let's see if there's any questions, clarifying questions from the council. Okay, I don't see any, so I would invite the appellant to come up, and you have 5 minutes to discuss this with us.
Hello, I'm Mary Vidovich, here to represent the neighbors of 45 Reservoir Road. Thank you to the town council for the opportunity to come here tonight. We previously communicated our concerns about the proposed development plans for 45 Reservoir Road, a lot created by the subdivision of 60 Rogers Road. The 45 Reservoir Road lot, Los Gatos development, currently proposed requires multiple exceptions. The side setbacks have been changed so that they're in compliance. The exceptions that remain open are the house and footprint are too large for this lot. The proposed home is much larger than the average homes in the neighborhood. There's insufficient parking for this development. Excessively high retaining walls, 15 feet, a few feet from the downhill neighboring lot. The development requires a lot of imported fill, 3,500 cubic feet. The private road is not designed to withstand construction trucks, heavy construction trucks. The proposed storm drain looks to be inadequate. The proposed removal of the development calls for removal of 13 mature protected trees. I think most of the trees that are on that lot. These two mature oaks, I really like to save those. They make the house more valuable. They provide, I think they hold 120 gallons of water each, and they provide. If you look up an oak tree, they have a lot of aesthetic value to a house. Climate change, pollution, biodiversity. They're look at them. They're gorgeous, and they provide privacy from the neighbor on the eastern side. So the previous owner removed 2 of the trees in the belt where the house would be built, and as part of that, they were to plant 4 24-inch box oaks, and there's only one of those living, and I think it's down on the turnaround. And they're supposed to maintain those trees for 5 years in healthy, good condition with the town. It's not the burden on the arborist, but on the owner. And I think it's after the development. The 5 years starts after the building permit. Next slide. Okay, so the building of this home, if you look on there where the trees are, they're right where the tandem garage is. So if the house was scaled down, then those trees could stay and the house would fit more into the wooded rural character of the neighborhood. Next. Okay, so the proposed plan for the downhill part of the development poses a high safety risk because it's very steep, and the top of that fence is well below the street level, and the proposed retaining wall will be 15 feet, so that neighbor below, will, instead of looking at a natural hillside, will now be looking at a retaining wall. Next slide. Okay, the other concerns are the current road is not designed to support heavy trucks such as those needed for the construction. The proposed outside development is inconsistent with the wooded historical character and native wildlife of the neighborhood. There's a migration of deer that come from Vassos across the street at 10 Reservoir. They were there 6 o'clock today. There's a family of 5 of them, and they come. I think they sleep in the back of my property. And this is a picture of the mother eating the plums off the tree there. So it's nice to have those beautiful deer around. So that this big home is inconsistent with the wooded historical character and native wildlife of the neighborhood. And as a result of the subdivision, there was an illegal drainage pipe above ground that was used to divert water into that gutter, and it floods my garage in the winter. So that needs to be taken care of. That should go on that from the property. You're not allowed to divert water into another lot like that.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions of the council? Yes, Councilmember Badami.
Ms. Vidovich,
Yes.
Did you attend the Planning Commission meeting on June 11th or forward any written objections to the revised application? I read the transcripts and I didn't see that you went to the hearing.
We went to the appeal, and then there was another written appeal for this one.
Well, there was an appeal, and the town council forwarded back to the Planning Commission to redeliberate over the merits of the application and utilize the council direction. Did you attend that particular meeting to continue to voice your objection or forward any written communication in the event you weren't able to attend in person? It was on June 11th.
My birthday is June 10th. I think my daughter, she just graduated from Los Gatos High School. We went to Hawaii for 5 nights.
Did you get an advance card that said there's going to be a hearing on that date? And
No.
that you, all right. I'm just looking to see that if you got the card, which I know that they mailed to residents, and staff can confirm it, that if you objected to any elements of the revised application, you could have written in and posted those. So I take it that you were in Hawaii and you didn't get the card.
No, I have a post office box, and sometimes I don't.
Okay, thank you.
But I think that it's not about that. It's about this. This is going to be a dangerous situation. So it's more about. I think it's what we need to do about what the house needs to be scaled down to avoid some risky things that could happen.
Thank you.
And other questions? Okay, don't see any, so thank you. You will have an opportunity to come back up after the applicant and then the public, and then you'll be back up, okay? Thank you. I actually had a question for staff before we go to the applicant, and that is to understand what is the subject matter of the hearing tonight. Is it a de novo look at the application, or must the hearing tonight be contained to the points that were raised in the appeal itself?
The town code, section 2920.295, sets out a 2-step process for the council to hear. First, the appellant bears the burden of demonstrating that the Planning Commission erred or abused its discretion in approving the project. And this determination has to be based on the record from the Planning Commission meeting and any information contained in the appeal. And then once the town council determines that that burden has been met, then the town council can hear all evidence. But if the council ultimately votes to grant the appeal based on any new information that was not previously presented to the Planning Commission, the matter needs to be remanded back to the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
And one
that-
follow-up note,
yes.
I'm sorry. This might be a good opportunity for the council to make any disclosures regarding the property too.
Yeah, I think that's good. So council members, any visits since the last hearing that we had? Vice Mayor?
Since the last hearing, I met with the applicant.
Councilmember Badami?
I also met with the applicant.
Okay. I met with the applicant as well and spent some time on the site. Councilmember Risto?
Thank you. Yes, since our last hearing, I visited the site, met with the applicant and the architect, and took another look at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now is the opportunity to hear from the applicant, and the applicant will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised that this is opened up to a de novo hearing. It's not my understanding. It's my understanding that we are going to be discussing points raised in the appeal. However, I think the project stands on its own, so let's go for it. I don't feel that the appellant has shown that the Planning Commission erred in their judgment in approving this by a 5-to-1 vote. First of all, I think that Chair Thomas ran an excellent meeting. She allowed plenty of time for staff to ask questions. For the commissioners to ask questions of staff and the town attorney. She also allowed ample time for public testimony, well beyond the 3 minutes. They also went through every point of this project as it was a new project. And they looked at every single comment that the appellant has brought up, and they deemed, obviously they deemed this approvable. They specifically went through the exceptions that we asked, and what are non-negotiables versus the discretionary exceptions, which I explained in my letters. But then they quickly focused on what the council had directed them to do, which was to reduce the size and mass and to try to reduce the amount of building out of the LRDA. As a suggestion by, I think it was Vice Mayor Moore, we took a look at the interior to how we can reduce the size of this home, specifically the staircase, and we tried a couple different configurations, typical 180s and things like that. And to our surprise, this staircase actually is just as efficient as all the others. And so that's what the client really wanted for her style. And so we saw no reason to modify that. It wasn't going to help anything. I just want to point out again how the Planning Commission carefully reviewed every item, and they were very appreciative and went out of their way to mention that we actually followed the directives of you folks in our revised plans. We addressed every item, and including the safety of this project, including the trees, including the drainage. Every other little thing that has been brought up has been addressed satisfactorily, and every one of those planning commissioners had a statement to back up what they found. It's unfortunate that some of the points raised tonight by the appellant weren't actually discussed by her, and we could have actually had a more suitable location and venue to discuss these things. Nonetheless, I'm here to answer any questions that you have. And we have a couple slides, but it's just kind of a reiteration of our Planning Commission presentation. So I can go over those if you'd like, but for now I think that everybody's seen the tapes. read the reports, read all the extra letters and everything else, and I think it stands on its own. So I am here for questions.
I had a question, and I'm reading the staff report, and the staff report states that the proposed residence, absent the ADU, would not be visible pursuant to hillside development standards and guidelines. I know we're not considering the ADU, but it's interesting in the report that it says absent the ADU would not be visible. Are you able to comment on the ADU and its visibility?
I would like to comment on that whole subject. Number one, this project is not deemed visible. If there was no ADU, this house would be almost absolutely non-visible from the viewing platforms. In addition to that, it's also not visible from anywhere else in town except for this private road and the residents that live on this private road. So that's, I think, something to take a little comfort in. It's not a large home. It's very average as far even Commissioner Barnett mentioned that. He says well within the means of the rest of the neighborhood. If you considered this house without the ADU on it, would it be too large? Would it be to have too much volume? So if I didn't have an ADU on there and I had the rest of the house there, would this have ever been a problem? And then I could just plop that ADU. Theoretically, we could plop that ADU on there, and because of the state laws, there's no discretionary review of that ADU addition. So rather than do it in a two-step manner, we want to do it as a whole. I don't know if that explains.
No, it's helpful to understand the relationship of the ADU and the application. Any other questions? Councilmember Rennie.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Planning Commission had a motion that we sent them, and then they went and watched the video to get more details of what that motion really meant. The things that I talked about in supporting the motion was more about the setbacks. Can you reduce these exceptions in the setbacks? Can you get a little more room in front of the house? 18 inches seemed a little too close to cars going by and so forth. So I appreciate the fact that you no longer have exceptions on the side setbacks and that you're now over 3 feet in the front on a road that doesn't have much traffic, and it's an easement, it's not really a road, so there isn't really a code standard for that, but I appreciate a little more space there just for safety. The one part I'm not all the way clear on is the rear setback, and the staff report or the response or something in here talks about there's a point where it's less, but it's not in much violation. Could you explain to me a little more about the back setback and how much of it is in violation? It looks like the back line is a strange pointy thing or something. And
it is. I'm not sure if the clerk has the ability to pull up our site plan to show graphically, but if I can just try to describe it, the rear property line for some reason has a kink in it that is indented, and what that does is it gives us a uneven rear property line, and the setback reflects that property line, right? So that if we have the rear of the house is squared off, and we hit and the house was at that point, we effectively lose several square feet and ability to build on either side of that point. Drop down.
A7 seems to have something.
A7. So there's right there, perfect. You can see the property line is on the left, and it's not square to everything. And you can see where we have highlighted, it's a little bit washed out, but there's an orange section of that one room that sticks into the setback. Makes that room, you know, a good proportion. That is actually, would almost be, if the property line didn't have that odd shape, it wouldn't be an exception into there, right?
So the orange shading helps me understand what's in the what would have been the required setback.
Okay, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
that was,
helpful.
that was the goal for this slide, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Risto, I can't tell. No? Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I was about to raise my hand. You anticipated my needs. Thank you, Mr. Colsat. One of the things that were brought up by the appellant was a discussion of a retaining wall above a fence. And can you clarify for me? I mean, I thought that was not to do with the house, but more to do with the safety road? Or the fire
Yes,
turnaround?
that is part of the fire truck turnaround, which was a mandatory item that we were forced to do. We attempted several times to do turnouts and turnouts and widening the road. We went through the process called AMMR with the fire department to request those exceptions, and we were denied. We still had to get an AMMR for this project because of other things that you could never make happen on this. It's basically the width of our road from Reservoir, the main Reservoir Road on this private section is not wide enough. So we had to request another exception, but fire department basically forced our hand to do a full fire truck turnaround on that. The only way to make that happen with the keeping it flat enough to meet their standards is to build this retaining wall. It's a very tall retaining wall. It's not inexpensive at all. And it has some, impact on the visibility of the neighbor below. The neighbor below has accepted this and has not complained whatsoever about this. And this is one of those exceptions that we have classified or categorized as kind of a non-negotiable. The only way to build on this lot, whether it's 100 square feet or 1,593 square feet, is to get these exceptions in the LRDA with the retaining walls and the building, the cut and fill for these things, the fill for that. I also want to point out, just to clarify, I wrote a letter to respond to the appellant's charges, and one of them claims that we're importing a lot of fill. We're actually exporting fill. So she's got her numbers all mixed up.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because when I saw the site, I mean, the hill just drops down. And so I just wanted to verify that that was where the retaining wall is. And I guess you answered my other question, and that is, regardless of what size, if your house were half that size, if the proposed house were half that size, we still need that fire truck turnaround, correct?
That's correct, 100%.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I will have some questions, I think, but I'd like to hear from the public first. So I have one card. If anyone else would like to speak on this, please send up a card now so that we can get your comments as well. So my first card is Kia Baratsada.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Thank you for your time this evening. I wanted to speak on behalf of the applicant and just kind of address some of the feedback I received through the appeal claim that my endorsement of the project was somehow clouded by my own self-interest, particularly because my own backyard pool project was somehow dependent on the undergrounding of the electrical wiring for Farnhouse's property. The truth is, no. We were actually final by the town just several months ago. The kids are loving it. It's been a great, fantastic backyard. Having the electrical work done for the project will, of course, benefit our view. So that's just one example of some of the beautification and improvements that Farnaz is including just on her own dime. Secondly, you know, she's adding to the safety of the region as well by adding the turnaround lane. So let's just keep going on that. I want to also just be objective with some other points, not just subjective about the deer and how it used to be. 56 Cleveland was one of the other neighbors that gave an appeal claim in the last meeting. And Andrew Watson said he was very concerned. It was a neighbor, 37 years, blah, blah, blah. He sold in April, and you can see that that's an example of self-interest. Mary herself had also texted my wife, who was a fabulous real estate agent, that she was interested in selling her house as well about a year ago in a text message. So there is also other interests here that are noteworthy that we should be, you know, understanding of why this is back here again when the project seems quite fair to me. Finally, PG&E on their own consolidated the project as well, consolidated our project with Farnaz's request. It was their judgment that there was actually synergy in between our project for undergrounding our electrical wiring eventually and her electrical work for her property. What I find in general, though, in terms of all the other good objective parts here of this collaboration, is that Farnaz and Gary have been a fantastic set of collaborators. They listen to our concerns. When we've talked about the view, we have a lot to lose in our backyard with a beautiful view of the city, beautiful view of the town. They've respected that. They've done great, excellent work with the story poles, the tree work. It's going to be a fabulous project. And I would ask that this team remains objective and look at the facts and trust the details and the judgment of the building commission and reject the appeal. Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Okay, I have two more cards, Lee Quintana and then Ann Callie.
First, I have to disclose that I'm on the Historic Preservation Committee at the present time. I was also on the committee that developed the Hillside Standards and Guidelines and was on the Planning Commission at that time. The intent that we had when the committee worked on the Hillside Standards and Designs was in defining the constraints of a hillside property. The intent was for the applicant to take those constraints into consideration when they were developing their design program, not for the design program to be designed and then rationalize the need for the exceptions. This project did not design totally to the constraints. And I would say that it's your job to decide whether they met your direction or not, but particularly in the area of mass and scale, I do not believe that they did. The emphasis was on the individual exceptions rather than the total picture. And if you look at A2 of the site plan, I believe that's the correct one, you can see clearly that both the loggia, the covered loggia, and the large covered entryway add dramatically to the mass and the scale of the house. That's basically what I have to say, but I want to close with two quotes that I came across lately that I think are very appropriate. The way to destroy all rules is to focus on exceptions. And the second one is from the Mercury News of a paper that was published, and the paper shows that that numbers are so compelling that when making a decision, people will put more weight on relatively trivial attributes if they are expressed numerically, factoring them in above all other relevant information that is expressed in qualitative form. And I believe there was a lot of discussion about the list that was provided in the staff report comparing the various homes around. That's what I'm referring to there. So I guess that's basically it. I hope that you revise your decision based on the mass and scale. Thank you.
Councilmember Rennie has a question.
Point of order question. You stated you're on Historic Preservation Committee. Are you speaking for the Historic Preservation Committee
sorry.
or for yourself?
I meant to say that I'm speaking for myself, not speaking for
Okay,
the
that was my
Historic
point of order
Preservation.
question. Thank
Yeah,
you.
This doesn't even have anything to do with historic.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have one more card, and Callie, and again, if anyone else would like to speak, you're welcome to come up, fill out a card. Thanks.
Hi, I'm a 30-year resident on this street, and I have not been able to attend meetings regarding 45 Reservoir until tonight. I am dismayed at the Planning Commission for not allowing the direction of this town's council. First, reduce the building footprint in consideration of the LRDA. Second, reduce the volume and massiveness of this residence. The only reductions made was to be consistent with the hillside design guidelines and complied with the side setbacks. This does nothing toward the mass and volume. By far, the 1,593 square foot two-story residence does not tell the true story of how large this looming oversized residence is on such a small lot. What about parking? There is no parking presently on this very old one-lane road. And let me tell you, it's a one-lane road. I live there, and it's a problem when there's two cars going up and down. I believe in new homes, considering outside the hillside quiet guidelines, the LRDA. This home must be smaller. Thank you.
I had a question, if you don't mind. So you live on off of this this easement or
Yes.
whatever we're calling
Yes.
it, and the question is there? How do you envision the construction parking might occur? You are on this road all the time.
A nightmare. A nightmare. You cannot drive two cars on the same road. That was a little exaggerated. There's not that much. It's just one lane. It's a one-lane road, and maybe there's a little bit of indentation of a road, but you'd have to it's. And I think it would be also for the street. The street itself isn't in the best condition. So besides the trucks and the confusion and I'm worried about the fact that the roads aren't in good condition to just allow these trucks to come in and work on the road while they're blocking some of us from coming in and out.
Okay, thank you. I think that leads me to a question for the applicant later, so thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have no more cards. Is there anyone online who'd like to speak on this?
We have one hand raised.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Turkin.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Kwan. I am a neighbor across from Kia and Emily on 55 Rogers Street. And I am supporting finance to build due to the fact that they're going to build a turnaround for the fire truck on that road. And I think it's crucial because I have experienced many delivery truck got stuck on Roger and I can't get out. I got stuck there for hours. So the only way to get out is on Reservoir through that gate. So having a turnaround built out with that retaining wall, making the road bigger, I think it helped a lot for people who live on the end of Roger like myself. So yes, I am calling in to support Fana to have her house built. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any questions, so are there any other people online who'd like to speak on this?
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, so I will close the public comment, and now we'll go back to the applicant, and the applicant will have 3 minutes, and then the appellant will have 3 minutes after that.
Okay. Again, we're talking about a 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom home. Nothing else is considered under the town guidelines, town code. The basement, the ADU, the garage. So let's look at 1,600 square feet on a 4,800 adjusted square foot lot. It's a 10,000 square foot lot, but it's 4,800 square feet. There is no LRDA available for this house, besides 287 square feet or something like that. That's 2 tough sheds. Come on. So it's pretty obvious that there's going to be a major exception granted, necessary, for construction of any home on this property. We have minimized this after meeting with you, taking the direction, working with staff, again, working with neighbors and with our client to see what we can do to reduce this house. I believe that the Planning Commission carefully considered, deliberated, and voted with their heads on this project, 5-1 vote. This is the second time that they have overwhelmingly approved this project. I do want to make a point. I want to thank someone for asking this. We have a really good plan now for construction. One of the silver linings of this fire truck turnaround is that this is going to be constructed at the onset. We are going to set up the retaining walls. We are going to start excavating for the home, and we will take that fill and we lay it in, and we will build that parking area up, the turnaround area up, which for the duration of construction will be our construction parking, material staging, etc. You could probably park 7-8 trucks on there if you did it carefully. No other project in this whole area had that luxury. So I just want to try to calm the neighbors down that this is not going to be some disaster where there's cars parking on top of cars. The road will be repaired to as equal or better than it is. We will take videotapes of this, and we will make sure that it's approved by Public Works if that's necessary, or an arbiter. I just think that this home deserves to be here. I think that my client deserves to have a beautiful home and a hard-earned home. So,
Thank you. Are there questions? Councilmember Rennie.
Debating whether I was going to ask staff this or the architect. Drainage, there was some concern about drainage. Do you feel like you've adequately designed to handle, obviously there's going to be more drainage issues with more hardscape and so forth?
I'm glad you asked that. But may I ask you or point out who is concerned about the drainage? A resident is concerned about the drainage. And I get that. I do get that. It's important. I must say that the town's engineering department has reviewed this twice, 3 times. We've modified it. We have one of the best civil engineering firms in the Bay Area doing this project. They've done thousands of homes. This is up to the highest standards available to handle all the drainage. There should be no concerns. This site is actually going to perform better with these improvements. And by the way, I have no idea that photo that showed some pipe coming out. That's not there, and I don't know what that is, but I don't know what that is. So none of that's going to be going on. None of this weird stuff is going to be happening. This is going to be shipshape.
Thank you. I had a couple questions, one relating to the point that you made earlier about doing the retaining wall and the fire turnaround construction first before construction work would start on the home itself. Now, I understand there'd have to be some excavation to obtain the fill, but my understanding is that that would not be full construction crews of many people coming in for that, correct?
That's correct.
And so I don't know whether this is there, but it seems one of the concerns of the neighbors is where are the workers going to park during the construction? And I think you addressed it to some degree. I was wondering if you'd be willing to consider agreeing to a condition that the fire turnaround work be completed prior to any construction work on the home.
Well, it will be, and I have no problem agreeing to that condition.
Okay, because I think the last thing we want to see is a lot of workers on the road in the condition that it's in right now. And you indicated that there might be room for 7 or 8 trucks on that turnaround. And do we know if that would be acceptable to the fire department to use that space during construction? To use that space during construction?
That's a great question. I know for a fact that it's the fire department does not have jurisdiction, or they're not going to regulate that fire truck turnaround until the home is done.
Okay, thank you. And then we can follow up with staff with regard to the condition. I had a second question, and this was one of the concerns that led to my vote on the council to uphold the appeal, the first appeal, and send it back. And that was the closeness of the road to the home. Now, I've heard 3 feet, I saw 5 feet. What is the distance between the, whatever you want to call it, the easement, the road, and the home itself now, and has
Can we
that
pull
changed?
that slide up again? Is that possible? Our first slide. I want to get it. I want to make sure I'm accurate with this.
Yeah, I think A6 has it on there.
We have a specific slide that's a 8.5 by 11 that we used for. It's a different one, and it's got a blow up of it. I believe it's 3.5 feet to the porch and even farther to the home. This
And I'm most concerned about that master bedroom that's on the corner there.
The presentation slides that we sent to you. Yeah, actually, the road veers away from that. So.
Okay, so that, while we're finding that, I guess the question is, it sounds like you've moved the home back a little bit and there's more clearance. Is there any physical barrier that would prevent a car from driving into the master bedroom? Or is that something you might consider? Curb or something?
There's going to be a planter. It'll be raised up. So the grade will be raised with planters. We don't believe that putting any kind of physical barrier is advisable, because those things tend to get hit, where plants tend to give you the warning brushing your side. I mean, this house is going to be there's no one going over 10 miles an hour on this road. And I think all of you have driven up Rogers Road and even Cleveland Road. There are walls right up against the street. There are garages right up against the street. The appellant's garage is very close to this road. Other homes along this are close to the road. So we don't feel that it's any different than anything else on this road.
Looking at the diagram that's up there now, at the upper right corner is the master bedroom, I believe.
Correct.
And is there a retaining wall, or is there anything?
It's a curb.
It's a curb. Okay.
It's a curb.
Okay.
It's like a raised planter.
I see. Okay. So again, that would be something that I think is important, because there's always the possibility of someone, it's very dark there, having an accident with a master bedroom and having a curb or something, I think would be of value.
We will be striping the road with a white stripe, reflective paint.
Okay, but it looks like there's something on that drawing, so, okay. Councilmember Badami?
But I want to point out, we just didn't want to have it right on the edge of the road. It's off the road.
Right,
Yeah.
as long as it's between the road and the home,
Yeah.
that's the issue, right?
So following up on the mayor's point and maybe having some type of protective measure there, and you mentioned a planter, a raised planter. You know, there might be a difference in materials between wooden and a cement planter when it comes to a car, and the house isn't that far from the high school, and, you know, we're talking teenagers that you might think nobody ever drives that road and they're going to be very careful, but, you know, one accident is all it takes. So if we are looking at a raised planter, if this was even the will of the council in moving this application forward, would it make a difference if we put a condition on it being cement as opposed to wooden?
If that's what you feel is necessary, then that's fine. It most likely will be concrete and with stucco finish on it because that's the style of the home.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you, and so I'm sorry, Councilmember Risto, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a question following on to discussion of cars driving on that road. I have not driven on it, I've only walked on it, but my impression is it's gated at each end. So can you confirm that, Mr. Colsat? And also, would there be any reason for someone who doesn't live, you know, one of those very few houses to be driving on that road?
It is gated, however, the gate on the upper side is left open. But that could always change as long as all the residents had remote controls and access. It is posted private. It's a private road. So anybody who's on that should understand that and the risks involved and the responsibilities of a private road versus a public road.
Okay, well, then to me, you know, some kind of planter makes sense, but I think being concerned about members of the public driving wildly on what's essentially a glorified driveway is not a concern for me.
As it's not for us.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions, so the appellant, you're welcome to come back. You have 3 minutes, and we may have some additional questions, so thank you.
There was a slide at number 5 with a picture of a car on it.
Was that in your materials?
That was the architect.
This is the packet that we have from the architect.
It was a picture with the car in the driveway, in the private drive.
Is staff aware of that, what that picture
It
is?
just was up. It's been up. It shows a house and it shows a car. Oh wait, this is another one. That he says that pipe's not there. I live there. The pipe is there every day. The Cochrans put it there when they.
Is this the picture of the car?
Okay, no, that's my garage.
Right.
This pipe right here. He says it's not
the pipe,
there.
correct.
Is that pipe there, you guys? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Staff, are you looking for a picture with a car? I don't.
They just had it up. I'm just saying that the car, it's not proportioned, that the car
Oh,
is.
think that one?
It's been up. It shows the house, the plans of the house, and it shows the private
the
drive and
mayor.
the cars in it, but it's disproportionate.
Through the mayor, clerk, I think it's the slide of the applicants that you've been showing.
The car takes up that whole, it's not a road, it's a private drive. We had to gate it because people were cutting through there. It's all our properties. It belongs to all of our lots. So somebody said that they were glad there was going to be a fire turnaround, but it's not it's not a road, it's a private easement. So we had to gate it because people were cutting through there.
Right.
Okay, that's okay. That is not how that is.
Ah,
The
okay.
car would be, like the car would take up that whole road. That's not drawn to scale. That's an inaccurate.
Okay, thank you. So you have some remaining time to go
Okay.
through any points that you'd like to go through?
Okay, so the 2 oak trees, are those, I met the arborist, Rob Molden there, and he talked to the planner, Sean Molden. I thought those were supposed to stay. The 2 mature.
So we can't have a dialogue, but we can listen to your points and then we can ask staff questions when you're done.
Okay.
So your question, okay, so 2 oak trees.
The 2 huge oak trees that are just, if someone's gonna build a house there, they would build around the trees. I mean, I couldn't see why they would wanna wipe those trees out. It seems like they're wiping annihilating everything on that lot.
Okay, thank you. You have about 30 seconds left. If there's anything else you'd like to rebut or bring to our
I've
attention.
lived there for 35 years, so just coming one time is different than living there. It's a lot different situations because people have deliveries now. They have deliveries for food or things, and there's the UPS truck. There's people order things on Amazon, so there's a lot more. This is going to add a lot. It's going to be really substantial. This is going to be impact us a lot. Anyway.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions the council has? Okay, thank you very much. So at this point, we will close the public portion of the hearing and go to the council. Does the council have any questions of staff or clarifying before we start to state position or possible motion? So I had a question which related to something that I brought up as part of the first appeal, and that is what constitutes a taking. And there's been a discussion about the LRDA, and the applicant asserted that a home could not be built within the LRDA. The LRDA is part of our standards and guidelines, hillside standards and guidelines. And I looked at the criteria. So if a home cannot be built within the LRDA, and is there a reason that the council could deny the project without it being a taking?
If the house could not be built within the LRDA, I wouldn't recommend that the town deny the project altogether. I do think there's room to request a smaller home because the general rule is that there's a taking when a property owner has been denied any possible economically viable use of their property. And then if the regulation merely decreases the viable use of the property, such as by reducing size, there's a further balancing test that a court would undertake. The court would consider the economic impact of the town's hillside guidelines, the extent to which the hillside guidelines have interfered with investment-backed expectations, and the necessity of the government action. And there are cases where courts have held that diminishing property value, to almost 100% did not constitute a taking. But it will be a very fact-intensive inquiry. And so to sum up, a property owner should be required to build something, but they don't have to build it as large as they would like to.
And is there any kind of a reasonable test to that, in that the applicant has stated that they could only build 200 and some square feet when the application, and there are no single-family homes at 200 square feet?
Yeah, it's hard to predict what a court would do, but I do think a court would probably find that fact compelling because it's not reasonable to expect someone to live in a 200-foot dwelling.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for providing that guidance to the Planning Commission as well. Councilmember Badami.
So one more question, kind of following up on that. If the council said this house is too big, we just want it smaller. I mean, what grounds would we use? They're within the FAR. It's 1,593 square feet. When I look at the comps, and there's 8 properties listed, there's 5 that are much larger. So if we were to say, could a council say, I want it 200 square feet smaller, and the applicant doesn't want to do that? What is considered reasonable?
It'll depend on the facts. It'll depend on how the property was marketed, what the property owner knew when they acquired it. But I do think a court would probably also consider the uses that are surrounding the property, and is what's being required of this property comparable with what's being required of neighboring properties.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Councilmember Risto.
Thank you. I have a question. It came up at the Planning Commission and in the staff report that when this property was, I think there were some lot splits, so I probably have the term wrong, but when this parcel was created, it's supposedly R120, but it's actually half the size. And so I'm wondering how that happens. If it's half the size of a minimum lot in R120, how did that even come to be?
Thank you for that question. I can try and clarify. The original property encompassed what is present day 45 Reservoir, 55 Rogers, and 60 Rogers. So it was a long, slim rectangle that was well over 20,000 square feet, and it was zoned R120. I believe in 2015, an applicant applied for and was issued certificates of compliance, recognizing that there were 6 underlying legal lots on that larger property, and then filed a subsequent lot merger to merge it from 6 legal lots down to the 3 legal lots we see today that I mentioned the addresses. So the existing 45 Reservoir was done through a lot merger to increase its size to 10,000 square feet from one of the smaller components of the 6 underlying lots.
Okay, thank you. Because it occurred to me, and it came up a lot during the Planning Commission, that, a lot this size with setbacks and other things that would apply to a lot twice the size make it really difficult not to have exceptions on this property. So I was looking at that. And then the other thing is, when we're talking about since the fire department is requiring this property owner to build a fire truck turnaround, which basically is to benefit of the entire neighborhood, how much leeway, how small can you make a house? Because I think the turnaround is not triggered by the size of the house, it's triggered by any development whatsoever. Is that correct?
That's correct. Regardless of the size of the home that would be developed on this lot or is proposed for this lot, the fire truck turnaround or some sort of resolution with the fire department would be required.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, or somebody would like to state a position or make a motion? Other thoughts that anyone would like to offer at this point? Councilmember Risto.
Thank you. My thoughts are that I'm not seeing a lot of merit to the appeal. I think this applicant, after coming to the town council and we remanded it to the Planning Commission, did work hard to make changes that maybe are not as extensive as one or two of the neighbors might have wanted, but I'm seeing support from other neighbors. I spent a lot of time walking around that area, and the home sizes are varied all over the place. There are some homes that are much tighter to the road. It's a very difficult location where I cannot imagine a feasible home that could comply with all of the regulations for an R120 property. Furthermore, this is under 1,600 square feet. We're the ones, the town is the one that makes the rules about what qualifies as countable square footage. The state makes the law about whether we can talk about the ADU or talk about parking for the ADU. So those things are off the table. And the fire department has basically insisted on kind of a safety mitigation that will benefit the entire neighborhood, that will come at great expense to this applicant. So I'm not saying because she's doing all this, she can build anything she wants. I do think that the architect and the applicant worked really hard to try to address some of the council's concerns, and the planning commission going through this item by item really came back and said, yeah, we approved it the first time, we listened to council direction, we see the changes, and we approved it the second time. So I don't see new information or that the planning commission erred at all. I think the applicant is doing the best job they probably can with this lot, and I think dragging this out any longer is just somewhat abusive toward the applicant. That's kind of where I'm leaning.
Councilmember Badami?
So council must determine if the planning commission erred or abused their discretion again. Council previously made that determination the first time around and gave direction to reduce the footprint, reduce the volume and the massing. Was the direction followed to reduce the volume and the massing and the footprint? Yes. A contention is the literal interpretation of the direction. In reading the recent Planning Commission transcript, the Planning Commission worked really hard and deliberated over the reductions and found merit with the recent application. Although a smaller house would be much preferable to the neighbors, the applicant is not exceeding the floor area ratio. And at 1,593 square feet, and I looked at the comps, 5 of the 8 are larger, some much larger. So I cannot make the finding that the Planning Commission abused or erred in their discretion.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I tend to agree with the previous two council members. I appreciate that we gave pretty clear feedback on the development being somewhat too large and being somewhat out of compliance, and the side setbacks are now in compliance. The front setback is much better, as is the rear, and I feel that responding thoughtfully to the changes that we've asked for is a reasonable expectation for us to ask of the applicant. Clearly, there are significant competing priorities, and when we have a community with homes built in the hillsides, I think that's always going to be a challenge as we weigh fire danger with the rights of homeowners, with the desires of their neighbors. But I generally believe that there have been thoughtful changes done to this application, which makes me inclined to deny the appeal.
I had a question for staff. I raised a couple of points with Mr. Colsat that would be somewhat modifications, and I was wondering staff's reaction about whether those could be accommodated. He indicated that that he would be willing to do that. One is to consider agreeing to a condition that the fire turnaround work be completed prior to any construction work on the home. And the second one was discussion about a physical barrier, and Councilmember Badami, I think, used the term concrete, either for the planter area or curb or something like that. Are those things that could get addressed in staff's opinion?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not quite sure how that would work with a motion, but it sounds like we're getting close to a motion. Would someone like to offer the motion, and then we can see whether we need to do anything with those? Councilmember Badami?
I move to adopt a resolution, attachment 10, denying an appeal of the Planning Commission decision to approve a request to construct a new single-family residence with reduced rear yard setbacks, site improvements requiring a grading permit, and removal of large protected trees on vacant property zoned R-120 located at 45 Reservoir Road. I would add to the conditions of approval that the fire turnaround be completed prior to the construction of the home, and that a cement or equally sturdy barrier be planted or built next to the master bedroom to protect the occupants of the home. And I'm sure that you could word it better than I did.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Risto?
Thank you. I second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? So with that, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Risto?
Aye.
Councilmember Rennie?
Aye.
Councilmember Badami?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Hudas?
Aye. So with that, we conclude that item, number 18. And I think we have one more item on the agenda. And so let's, let's just take a 5-minute break and get back together at 8:35. Okay, we ready to go? Okay, we're back in session, and we have one item left, which is item 19, and then, of course, our council matters and town manager and town attorney.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Katie Nomura, Assistant Town Manager, here to give you an update on the town's federal funding and grants. So the town has been awarded approximately $10 million in federal grant funding that we've been tracking for you, and we've been asked to come back every 2 months to give a report and an update, and that is this report. We have approximately $4.2 million still outstanding, yet to be reimbursed. Some of that has to do with we haven't spent all of those funds yet as well, but this is part of just keeping track. It is going down. We have been getting additional reimbursements. We do have some good news that our EMPG grant through the county and through Cal OES has been reimbursed for about $14,000. So we weren't sure we were going to get that, and we got the good news recently. You'll also see that the Los Gatos Creek Trail Connector has most of its funding reimbursed at this point. The project is complete, and we are working on that final reimbursement request. As far as open space vegetation management, that project has also completed, and we are working on those reimbursements. Initially, we had aimed to only expend the amount of funding that we had reserved for the town to already expend, partially as a match, partially what's already in the CIP for town funding. But after we received assurances from Cal OES that they've already received that funding, that we proceeded to complete the project, given that this is a high priority for the town. So that concludes my update, and we are here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Can you speak to the library's discontinuation of certain electronic resources and sort of a follow-up from that? I'm curious if we've sort of gone out of our way to advertise where people can access those resources outside of our library and how we are dealing with that. I know Director Baker is not here, but yeah.
I'd have to check in and ask, and we can report back on what they're doing to inform the public how to access those additional resources.
Okay, yeah, and maybe just a little bit more background on that, because I'm reading, I read in the staff report that there's an injunction against the executive order that was, taking away some of those resources, and so I'm curious sort of where we've landed and why we've proceeded how we have.
We would have to check in and get back to you. I don't have that information right now.
Yeah, all good. Thank you.
The one I wanted to understand a little bit better is the vegetation management and roadside fuel reduction, which I think are 3 grants on the table on attachment 1. And it looks to me like it's about 3.75 million in grants, and then there's in addition there's a town match correct of about 1.7 million or so. Is that correct in total?
It looks like, so for the open space FEMA grant for vegetation management, the grant was for about 1.7 million with a town match of 550,000. For the FEMA roadside vegetation grant is about 1.5 million and about a 500,000 town match. And the USDA roadside vegetation management is 750,000 in a grant and 750,000 town match.
So is it the grant plus the match, or is the
in total funding you would add those together, and that's how much we have for the project.
Add them together.
Yeah.
Okay, so that looks like about 3.7 and about 1.7. If that's correct. So, is that correct?
So about 4 in grant funding, and the match is like 1.7. Yeah.
Okay. So that's about 5.7 in total. So I just want to kind of get a big picture on that. 5.7, what have we received and what is at risk, because I want to make sure that our voice is being heard at the federal level about that. It's so critical to the safety of our people here. I want to make sure I have, the right information on that.
Sure. So for the roadside and I'll defer to Director Burnham to add, but as far as I can tell, for the roadside vegetation management grants, those have not been expended yet in a large way. The focus has been on completing the open space grant, which you can see most of that has been expended at this point. And right now we're only outstanding 1.5 million for reimbursement on that. And like we mentioned, we haven't received any indication that that won't be getting reimbursed. Does that answer your question, or would you like additional information?
I just would like to understand kind of the bottom line. Do we need to keep pushing on our federal partners to make that money available, or does it look like it is becoming available at this point?
So as far as the open space grant goes, we don't believe that there will be issues in receiving that reimbursement. For the other two grants, we don't have any outstanding reimbursements we're waiting on, but we also haven't pursued that work yet to experiment of how those reimbursements will be coming in or not.
Town manager, looks like you want to say something.
I think if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think the follow-up question would be, what remaining dollars are at risk that we're not expending, and should we be doing something about that at the federal level, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if we can have, Nicole, do you mind speaking to where we are on the status of those?
Yeah, the FEMA for the roadside, so the open space is done. That money's obligated. We just need to wait for the reimbursement to come back. The 1.5 that's not yet been received was submitted. We submitted a reimbursement request in July. So we hopefully will see that money this fall. They're running in about 45 to 60 days in their reimbursement. For the roadside vegetation management FEMA grant, we coordinate closely. That money runs through Cal OES. Cal OES has told us that that money exists in their accounts. So the reimbursements are actually coming from them. So we don't believe that that funding is at risk. The USDA roadside vegetation management, we are still working with the local USDA office to get an extension on that grant. They told us in early July that it is in process, but they've been telling us that for a few months now. So we continue to work with their staff, but we've continued to not actually receive the form. So if we're going to push on anything, it should be that one.
I see. Very helpful. Thank you, because I think all of us really understand that we are very dependent on some federal funding for roadside vegetation management, and that particularly money that was promised to us, we want to make sure that that money comes through. So thank you for that. That was really a lot of the purpose of this update. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to ask a more general question about HR 1 and if there have been any direct impacts to the town of Los Gatos. I imagine, or I know there have been more indirect impacts that I'll speak to a little bit later, but I'm curious if we foresee any of those cuts trickling down. I know we're looking at the grants that we receive, and that those cuts focus primarily on food assistance and Medicaid, but I'm curious if we've seen any impact from that so far.
I have no indication that that's occurred yet, nor how we had nonprofits reach out and say something's happened.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? I will open this for public comment. Anyone in the room want to speak about item number 19? Is there anyone online who'd like to speak about it?
There's no one online.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments by the council? Vice Mayor?
Perhaps surprising no one, I'll say something on this. So since we last talked about this item, there have been devastating new federal policy decisions and budgetary cuts to our community through this bill, H.R. 1. The federal government callously imposed sweeping cuts to basic services to fund trillions of dollars in tax cuts for the richest Americans at the expense of immigrants, working families, and our most vulnerable. What I think is important for us in Los Gatos to think about is that this bill constitutes the most significant cuts in our nation's history to Medicaid and food assistance since those programs were created. And we know there are Los Gatans who rely on those programs to access their health care and food. The County of Santa Clara has been talking about this a lot. They anticipate more than $1 billion in revenue lost out of a $13 billion budget. Most of those funding cuts will be to the county's healthcare budget, which is between $5 and $6 billion. They're losing about 20% of their total healthcare budget. About 55,000 people in Santa Clara County are at risk of losing CalFresh food benefits, and about 400,000 people in the county rely on Medicaid. Tens to hundreds of thousands of these individuals will lose access to Medicaid. Some of those tens of thousands of people live in Los Gatos, and I believe we have a role in protecting those people from the worst impacts of these cuts. Since these cuts took place, people in Los Gatos have been protesting, donating, creating networks to protect people in our community, but I truly believe that our residents cannot do this alone. So accordingly, because the town council will be having a discussion about the community grants program soon, I'm interested in the town council thinking about prioritizing basic and social services for our most vulnerable, including immigrants, seniors and older adults, and the poor and our homeless neighbors who will be most affected by these cuts. I think this is a tangible step that we can take to ensure we're doing everything we can to shield folks in Los Gatos from this, step in the wrong direction from our federal government. But I'm very curious to hear how other council members are thinking about how to best respond to the impact of these changes, because I think these are going to be real. I don't think that adjusting funding priorities within the grants program is at all a panacea, and I'm very much open to any and all ideas. Yeah, that's what I got.
Well, I do have one thought about it, is that much of the funding that is threatened, more than threatened, is being cut off through these federal programs, is heavily administered by the county and the state. And the direct funding of those services is not within the town budget, but those are our residents. And so I think from my perspective, we need to work more closely with the county and the state to understand the impact, and not to assume that the state will step in and take care of things, but to even understand what the scope is of these kind of very drastic cuts to social services. And so I'm looking for ways to go beyond just sort of this agenda item, but to more closely work with the county and the state in understanding the impact of this. Because I think in the vacuum of the Los Gatos budget and the services that we provide, we're going to be quite limited. Where I think we may have some impact is in, as a town, strong advocacy with the county and the state. And the reason I say that is that for a very long time, Los Gatos is sort of a net funder of these programs through our property taxes, and doesn't receive very much of these taxes, the services to our residents. And partly that's because of the perception of Los Gatos as a affluent community. Part of it is that there's not a realization that we have many more seniors in our community that are struggling, and that number has grown significantly. And so how do we become not just a net exporter of funds, but how do we get our fair share of funds that are going to be flowing through these systems of the state and the county? So just some thoughts. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Maybe two things I'll say in response are, one, the reason I agree that sort of the direct, relationship between Medicaid and the town of Los Gatos is loose or tangential at best. But I do think, like you said, these are our residents who are going to be dealing with, loss of healthcare, loss of food assistance. And so some of the organizations we already support through our community grants program are working on these sort of food assistance, poverty alleviation, basic services. And so I think as much as we can and as funding is available, as we think about the $150,000 or so that we have, I think that this lens is going to be important. There's no motion behind that, but I think when we have that discussion, I think that will be very important. The second thing that I'll say that is going to directly impact the town of Los Gatos and isn't concrete yet, but on Thursday, the county is going to be discussing implementing or putting on the ballot a 5/8 cent sales tax, which will, in essence, max out Los Gatos' sales tax. So we will no longer have the option to put a sales tax. The town of Los Gatos could no longer impose a sales tax or put it on the ballot. Yet our residents will be paying it. So so if the county's measure passes, that our residents will pay that sales tax, and we won't see many of the benefits, especially because we don't have a hospital or a health clinic in Los Gatos. The other sort of bad news is that sales tax countywide is expected to generate about $300 million. That is less than 1/3 of the total hole in the county's budget. The county is not expecting the state to step up and to close that $600 million gap. And so the county's having serious discussions about closing health clinics, across the board cuts to services, all of which, impact Los Gatos, from the sheriff's department in terms of mutual aid to, the fire department, all sorts of things are on the table, I think. And so I do think that again, while the town of Los Gatos does not administer Medicaid or supplemental nutrition assistance, these are programs that our residents rely on. Many county programs our residents rely on. We just opted in to use the county's, animal services. And so I think we do have to be paying attention to these things and recognizing that there are things we can do to help. So that's my point.
Yeah, and to remind folks, we do have an agenda item coming up to look at the community grant program, and maybe we ought to broaden the view on that as to what other actions we could take to try to get more of our fair share from the county and from the state for our residents at the same time. So, Councilmember Risto.
Thank you, and I appreciate the comments of both the mayor and the vice mayor. I know that as we continue to talk to some of the partners that we have given grants to, Live Oak Nutrition, I know the number of participants there continues to go up this year. And, keeping our ear open to what our residents are telling us they need, but also what some of our partners that we help fund, the nonprofits, what are they seeing? Before we go into that conversation, it's just good news to me, tonight's update, where it looks like we will be funded for places where we've expended money. And these are all in critical areas. We've got to help our residents, but we've also got to protect Los Gatos from the existential threat of wildfire. And so knowing that it appears some of this grant money is going to come back to us, that we are going to be reimbursed, we're not looking at a $10 million hole in our budget, which is what it looked like when these numbers first came out. So knowing that we already have stress on our budget, I'm glad to know that we should be made whole here, and then we'll have to make some very careful decisions about what we do going forward. But at least this is helpful framing before we discuss the grant program. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, just one other thought. I mean, this agenda item was a little difficult to figure out how to get it on the agenda and how frequently to do it and what the scope should be. I'm really glad we did it, and I had hoped that things would settle down with federal funding at this point, but I think the challenges are still in front of us. So at least as long as I'm mayor, I'm going to continue to get this on the agenda every 2 months, and to try to get more information, particularly from our nonprofit partners, and understanding what their funding challenges might be. So in addition to the grant program, we'll also come back to taking a look at federal funding. So anything else on this? Okay, so with that, I will, let's see, do we need to do public comment on this? I think we do.
Yes.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to comment? Is there anyone online who'd like to comment? Okay, so that completes the item because there's no action to be taken, but thank you, staff, very much. I know it's hard to pull this information together and to put it in terms that we can understand. So thank you very much for doing that. Really appreciate it. Okay, so our next item is council matters. And so we've had a long break, and we were all supposed to be doing nothing. But I suspect that we all do have a few things to report. So who'd like to start? Councilmember Badami.
Actually, I don't have a lot to report, so lucky me, I'm first to go. During the month of July, I met and corresponded with several residents on various issues. And other than that, again, I have nothing further to report.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just go through a few. Got up to many things, including taking some time off, which I hope everybody else got to do as well. I tabled at the farmers market this past Sunday, which was a lot of fun. Always love doing that. I met with one of the government affairs people from Netflix. I enjoyed the 4th of July Symphony in the Park, where I think most of us were. I have been attending Music in the Park and Jazz on the Plaza, where I know some of us have been as well. Update of relevance to the town. The West Valley Sanitation District, where I currently serve as chair of the board, is looking for a new district manager and engineer. John Newby has retired after many years of dedicated service. And so currently Kent Edler is in his place in an interim role, and the West Valley Sanitation District will be meeting to work on recruitment. The Sanitation District actually worked a little bit with our staff on finding a good recruiter. I have had the chance to talk with lots of impressive students over the summer, including at the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Leadership Academy and 2 summer climate fellows at the San Jose Conservation Corps. I had a productive meeting with the director and deputy director of County Parks and Recreation about how to make improvements to Vasona. I sat down with the new Los Gatos High School president to talk about mental health. I attended alongside the mayor a recognition ceremony for some of our hardworking police officers, and I attended West Valley Community Services unveiling of their new 3-year strategic plan, and also a additional, not the one that the town of Los Gatos is using, but a new refrigerated van, which is exciting for them. And finally, on Thursday, I will be hosting individually a e-bike listening session, because this has been a issue of great concern to many folks in the community trying to understand how people are thinking about that.
Thank you. Councilmember Rennie.
So I did a lot, but I took the recess seriously, and I did my lot on vacation outside the state, so I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councilmember Risto.
Thank you. I was gone a lot of July, but our last meeting was June 17th. So on the 24th, I attended the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department swearing in and promotion ceremony. It's always inspiring to welcome new police officers. I think we had a number of people come and join our department and some promotions. So that's just always inspiring to know that we're a desirable place and our department continues to grow and improve. On the 26th, I attended the ribbon cutting for the West Valley Community Services Parket Market. And I know that the Vice Mayor was there to speak about it or to give a talk. And that is an opportunity for our residents in need to be able to access fresh fruit, vegetables, and food staples. And it'll be parked outside the library, I believe twice a month. And I don't remember the details, but I'm sure it's posted with the library and the Vice Mayor can probably update us on that. On the 27th, I cheered on the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department Special Olympics Torch Run, where our huge crowd of officers and some Special Olympics parents, there were strollers, there were children there, ran from Saratoga to through downtown and then up to Campbell, successfully raising money for Special Olympics, but also kind of sharing the spirit of doing something for others and working together as a team. On the 3rd of July, I met with the VTA chair to discuss bus routes in Los Gatos and Measure B projects. On the 4th, I attended the Symphony in the Park at Oak Meadow, and I believe most of the other council members were there. It was just a really great hometown celebration that we always enjoy. Our mayor gave a wonderful speech, as did our Congressman Sam Liccardo. And let's see, on the 4th, yesterday, I remotely attended the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Finance and Administration Committee meeting, where we forwarded recommendations that'll come before the Board of Directors later this week. And finally, I met with a large number of residents when I was around to discuss a variety of topics, including housing, e-bikes, including with our Safe Routes to School Executive Director, what's happening with e-bike education there, school traffic, and pickleball. So anyway, I hope our residents also got to enjoy part of the month of July. And I also am grateful that we had the ability to allow some of our staff to take vacation because in this month, for the first year ever, our commissions also did not meet during July. So it gave a little more leeway and freedom for people to get some much needed rest and relaxation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just add a few other things in addition to the ones that were mentioned. I participated in a service academy at the 129th Rescue Wing at Moffett Field with Councilmember Liccardo giving a presentation to a number of our young folks who are admitted to the service academies. I met numerous times with the Los Gatos Thrives Board and also the Wildfire Advisory Group. I participated in the Community Health and Senior Services Commission meeting on the 18th of June. I observed the DEI Commission meeting that same day. Some interesting ribbon cuttings. There was a huge attendance and very exciting ribbon cutting at the Porsche Service Center on the 22nd of June. And it not only drew a lot of people, it drew a lot of really interesting cars. And this is, I think, a real asset for our community to welcome them here. A couple other ribbon cuttings. we had one at a rehabilitation center in Los Gatos, and that was just 2 weeks ago. And I think most of the other things have been mentioned, but it actually has been a pretty busy time for the town, and so trying to support everything that's going on in the town during this month, I think, has been very exciting. So it's been a really interesting summer, and I feel really energized about the things we're going to address going on into the fall, and I look forward to working with the town manager and staff to kind of lay out our plan for the rest of the year. So with that, town manager and then town attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one item. The FireWise program, led by the National Fire Protection Association, offers a structured approach for communities to enhance their wildfire resiliency in California. And now with the hiring of our new emergency manager, we're seeing quite a bit of movement on the wildfire preparation side. As of yesterday, over 3,500 FireWise outreach mailers were sent to residents in the wildland urban interface areas of Los Gatos. The mailers are expected to arrive by Friday and promote 2 upcoming informational sessions, the first of which is on Friday, August 16th at 10 a.m. At the Jewish Community Center on Oka Road, and the second on Monday, August 26th at 7 p.m. at El Camino Health Los Gatos Conference Center on Pollard Road, with an option to attend virtually. These events are intended to support neighborhood wildfire preparedness and encourage participation in the FireWise program. So I have to say my sincere gratitude to the council for making this a very high strategic priority, investing significant resources and efforts, and allowing the organization to align behind what is a very significant effort that I think will bear fruit and protect this community. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And we look forward to getting sort of more in-depth information about all of the things that we're doing to help protect our community from the wildfire risk. And I think we're scheduling a session on that in, I think, September. And then town attorney.
This evening, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we conclude this meeting, and this meeting is adjourned.